Hi, everyone. This is Lowell with another thought for you in terms of my favorite musicians. And this one is about John Phillip Sousa. And maybe a lot of you don't know that name, but he was one of the most revered and important musicians in America at the turn of the 20th century. And he was famous for his marches that he created for his essentially symphonic band. He created a new style of music that kind of merged a concert band with a marching band with a symphony orchestra, and he kind of merged a lot of the different parts and pieces of those types of ensembles together into a traveling group that took America by storm. He wrote lots of music. Stars and Stripes Forever would be probably the most famous. The melody, da, 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 da. Anyway, he originally was trained as a violinist, but he became a conductor and a composer and wrote a ton of music. He lived through the ragtime era and actually put on ragtime performances. But he gathered a lot of different musicians from the time frame that he lived in. Well-known, well-respected musicians that would solo with his group. He ended up touring Europe, and at that time, America was thought of as subclass in terms of the quality of music to Europe. Europe was where the majority of people thought of, well, that's great art, that's great music in terms of the classical tradition. And John Phillip Sousa kind of broke that mold. Like any time that he traveled anywhere in America or in Europe, he was highly respected. His group was very respected, and he had a very intense schedule. They were on the road just nearly every day of the year, and actually put on traveling miles, just many traveling miles on train, mostly, and was known as really the first contemporary version of a pop musician, even though in contrast to the classical music classical concerts that people would put on, the great symphony orchestras of the day, he kind of took those ideas and made them a little bit more popular to the community, to the people in the local towns that he would perform in, and he performed mostly outside of buildings, out in fields or whatever. They didn't perform too much inside. They were just outside venues. But one of the things that I really appreciate about John Phillip Sousa was his attitude and his demeanor as a person. He was a man of high integrity, and really believed that he was honoring God. He had a real devotion to God, and believed that God was inspiring him in his creativity and his writing. And he had a unique relationship with the people that he led. He gave them a lot of respect. And I wanted to read just a little bit of that came out of this book about John Phillip Sousa. It says, the most amazing thing about his relationship with his band members was that Sousa never criticized his musicians, either publicly or privately. A musician seldom made the same mistake repeatedly. If he did, he was often approached by Sousa inconspicuously and in a polite manner. Sousa would immediately put an errant musician at ease by pleasant small talk and, like a master psychologist, methodologically steering the conversation to the man's own personal problems while making no mention of any dissatisfaction in his playing. He was paternalistic in these interviews. Upon determining the source of trouble, he would attempt to offer friendly advice or else give the man a few days off with pay so that he could resolve his problems. This indirect method of correction was highly effective and was much appreciated by the bandsmen. He was more than fair in the matter of salaries and would generally grant increases when personally requested by the bandsmen. Even when the musicians' union established minimum scales, Sousa's salaries would often exceed that scale. And then his mindset about music in general, about why he was doing what he was doing in this next statement. Sousa's opinion of music was that music for entertainment was of more value to the world than music for education. This concept, which evolved during his early career as a theater musician, led him away from a possible career as a composer or conductor of more serious music. In 1910, he wrote of his mission in music, he quote, "It seemed to me in my early life that the principles of this type of music might be so far elaborated and utilized as to reach the entire world directly and effectively. My theory was, by insensible degrees, first to reach every heart by simple, stirring music. Secondly, to lift the unmusical mind to still higher level form of art, of musical art. This was my mission. The point was to move all America, while busied in its various pursuits, by the power of direct and simple music. I wanted to make a music for the people, a music to be grasped at once." So he really had the mindset of a popular musician. You know, he wanted to reach his contemporary culture with pleasing melodies and just simplistically speaking directly to the heart of the people and the culture. And he really had an empathy for what made America great and for the American ethos of hard work and of joyfulness. And you can hear a lot of joyfulness in his music. But he had a lot of discipline, a lot of self-discipline at one point, and he used to like riding horses, and he had fallen off a horse and actually broken, I think it was his neck, but he went ahead and did the concerts, and even in extreme pain, and performed just out of sheer will, and they said that sweat was running down his face, but he just made himself, through discipline, perform the concerts. So he had a personal discipline, a love of God, a love for his for the people that he served, his band members, his community. He was just an absolutely fantastic guy, as far as I can tell, everything I've read about him. And he was very wrote a lot of music. He was just very prolific, was the word I was trying to think of. Very prolific composer, and really, I would have loved to have known the guy.